It's November 14. Ukraine Media Center Grand Form continues its operation. My name is Svetlana Chaparenko. The 10th anniversary of Revolution is Dignity is coming, a very important date for every Ukrainian. It was an event in the lives of all of Ukrainians when we were formed as a nation, when we realized what is our vector, where we're moving to, and on this day we also commemorate all those fallen during the Revolution of Dignity. And this day during this event, we will be talking about the way we will celebrate this anniversary. And joining us in this studio are Ihor Poshyvailo, General Director of the National Memorial Complex of Heroes of the Heavenly Hundred, and Volodymyr Tylishchak, Deputy Head of the Ukrainian Institute for National Remembrance, and we expect Rostyslav Karandieiev, Acting Deputy Minister of Culture and Information Policy, to join us shortly. So can you please tell us how we will be celebrating this year's anniversary? Will it be different from previous events that we were celebrating previously, previous anniversaries? Good afternoon. About the program, about how and what we offer to the society this year. Well, it will be covered by the engine of all this affair, director of the National Memorial Complex, who takes all necessary efforts to make sure that the memory of the Heavenly Hundred heroes of the Revolution of Dignity is still alive in our hearts. So this year we will be celebrating the first anniversary, 10 years after the Revolution of Dignity. For the society, for the Ukrainian society, those events are perceived as those which critically changed the course of Ukrainian history. We were making a sociological survey this year and we were asking the question, what is the Revolution of Dignity to you? And more than 52% of the respondents said that those were the events that cardinally changed the course of Ukrainian history. This is why for Ukraine, for the national remembrance, the Revolution of Dignity remains one of the most important events in modern Ukrainian history. An event that in fact proved Ukraine as a European nation, as a European country, because during the Revolution of Dignity, Ukrainians demonstrated that they are able to stand for their dignity and for their choice. Another thing to take into account is that this first anniversary is an event we celebrate under conditions of the full-scale invasion, and this situation obviously defines that we currently don't have an opportunity to celebrate it in the way that we would like it. So that there is no opportunity for gatherings, for some collective events, but we still hope that this attention, this event will not be left without attention of Ukrainian society, of Ukrainian media, and on our part we will take all reasonable efforts to help commemorate the participants of those events. And let me give the floor to Mr. Ihor so he continues with the details. Mr. Ihor, yes, can you please tell us about the events, what will be the platforms, and what will be the duration of all those events? Good afternoon, glory to Ukraine, glory to Ukraine. Well, Mr. Volodymyr has mentioned that this year we celebrate the 10th anniversary. It's a special date, it's special from different angles. It's a very serious historic distance from which we can objectively realize what has happened to Ukraine, what has happened to all of us, what has happened to the world after the events of the Revolution of Dignity, but we understand that the Revolution of Dignity and Russian-Ukrainian war is the single process, is the continuation of fight of Ukrainians for our values, for our cultural identity, for our future. And this is why many participants of the Revolution of Dignity won't be able to be with us, not because they are on the front lines, but because they left this world. They has died in the war that started in 2014. This is why it's important, this commemoration, in terms of understanding of consequences of this event, because sometimes we go a little bit deeper and we say, what if Maidan never happened? What would Ukraine be like? Would there be war? Would we lose our territories? And analyzing those events, we understand that the then victory of Maidan, unification of Ukrainian society, the intense historical choice away from Moscow, striving to the civilized country, the end of the post-Soviet existence and active decommunization and decolonization processes that were started by Maidan. It was an existential challenge for Putin's regime, and it's obvious that the war is the revenge for Maidan, for revenge on Ukrainians, for their readiness to protect the European values, not by word but by deed. This is why we try to make this year's celebration the most practical, the most formal possible, so we can continue realizing the importance of the consequences of Euromaidan, of all those events. And recently we've seen the intensification of Euro integration process. So among our partners are civil organizations, government authorities, Institute of National Remembrance, Office of the Vice Prime Minister on European Integration, the Cabinet of Ministers, because all those processes are related. I think many Kyivites have seen the new stands in the center of Kyiv, the new stands that we've installed with the support of Ukrainian Cultural Foundation. The project is called the Territory of Dignity, the augmented reality and musification of the Maidan events. You can check out the most important locations of the Territory of Dignity, and moreover it has the elements of augmented reality. We've processed more than 15,000 photographs, videos. We worked with the Museum of Maidan and a large group of historians, designers, architects, 3D designers created this augmented reality. It can be seen through the 10 most important objects of the Revolution of Dignity, because we understand that Maidan, well, all of Ukraine was covered by Maidan, but still the center of Revolution of Dignity was here in Kyiv, and this is where we can see those models of the main barricades recreated, such objects as the art Barbican, as the fragments of tent city, as the Christmas tree. So we will be able to engage the youth in those events, of the youth that was attending probably primary school, kindergartens. This is why we need to ensure this inheritance of the memory of Maidan. This is something that the Moscow regime is trying to nullify. We see a lot of misinformation and fakes about the events of Maidan, and in our expeditions through the deoccupied cities and villages of Ukraine, we see a lot of Russian captions that they mark our museums with. They write those messages like, we were waiting for 8 years to have revenge on you for Maidan. This is why the role of Maidan is extremely important in today's events. And now we have other events unfolding, and they are the single process. So this is why we have to commemorate those activists who were on Maidan, the heroes of the Heavenly Hundred, first of all, that we position as the first heroes of the Russian-Ukrainian war. And in fact, that was the first battle of this war. So talking about the main events, there will be a number of them. There are different civil initiatives, but the ones that were prepared by the Museum of Remembrance, traditionally on 15th of November, we announced the contest of students' works named after Serhiy Kemsky, a hero of a Heavenly Hundred. This is a contest that is continuing for a number of years, and the winner of this contest become very important scientists, activists who initiate their own ideas, continuing the ideas of Serhiy Kemsky on reformation of Ukraine. On the 21st of November, that's a key day, it's Tuesday, and basically the whole attention of the whole country will be focused at 10 o'clock on the alley of the heroes of the Heavenly Hundred, where we commemorate the heroes, everybody who is coming back on the shields and with the shields, those defending Ukraine. We pray for Ukraine, pray for victory, and it's an important traditional event where a lot of Ukrainians take part in. And in all of the cities and villages, the heroes are being commemorated at the same moment. And Museum of Maidan made a topographic map where official or unofficial memorials emerged from the time of Maidan, and you can see them everywhere in Ukraine. If you go to even to a small village in Ukraine, there is a banner to commemorate the heroes of the Heavenly Hundred. All the communities commemorate our heroes on this day, and we focus the attention on the beginning of the Revolution of Dignity, because in February we're going to commemorate the day of the heroes of the Heavenly Hundred, but today we will be talking about the lessons of Maidan, about the causes, about its fundamentals and premises. That's an important experience that prepared Ukraine and Ukrainian society to their resistance, specifically during the full-scale invasion. Very important events will unfold in Ukrainian house from 22nd to 28th of November. It's an important place for Maidan, and over there we open an exhibition in a couple of floors. It's called Maidan, the Birth of the Dream, the First Fight. It will be an interactive dynamic space with educational features, with master classes for children. There will be important discussion panels going on there, at least 6 of them on important topics, and we invite the activists of Maidan, the leaders of thoughts, to cover the topics which are still important today, the evolution of revolutions. We will be talking not only the revolution of dignity, but we also celebrate the anniversary of Orange Revolution. We will be talking about how to tell the world about Maidan, because the world doesn't really remember well the events of those days, and Russian propaganda tries to nullify the values of Maidan. And we will talk about the experience of Maidan, because it became important not only for Ukraine. We have 50% of permanent visitors in our House of Trade Unions who are people coming from abroad who are curious about the experience of Maidan. We have people from Hong Kong coming anonymously because they study it's important for them to study our experience for their fight. And we will be talking about the revolution of Maidan, about its phenomena, the protest art. We will talk about memorialization and musification of Maidan. We will talk about the challenges, and we will talk about the problems with musification of the alley of the Heavenly Hundred, and for conviction and punishment of the perpetrators and bringing to liability of those guilty of crimes in Maidan. Yet another important thing is that during this interactive space that we've called Maidan Forum in Ukrainian House, there will be 2 documentaries demonstrated. We do it in coordination with International Festival of Documentaries on Human Rights, docudays.ua. On the 21st of November, we will demonstrate the movie Maidan Sos, directed by Sergei Lysenko, an important film that illustrates the initiatives of human rights activists who got united on the 30th of November right upon the beating of the students, of the participants of the student protests. On the 23rd of November at 18 o'clock, we will demonstrate the documentary Crimea SOS. We invite famous opinion leaders, politicians, activists who will tell us about the details of those events covered by that documentary. What also is important, from 20th to 22nd of November in the Union's House, there will be an annual scientific forum going on. This year topic is the revolution of dignity in the path of history. We will be talking about Maidan there too. Obviously, this scientific forum, we cannot call it international, but it's attended by a number of foreign scientists, researchers from Oxford and Harvard universities. They are the leaders of scientific research who help us better understand it from their angle and to make better arguments on the real meaning and influence of Maidan on the global geopolitical processes in more convincing manner. So those are the key events, and I would also like to emphasize that the commemoration is not only on the 21st of November or 20th of February, but within all of the 94 days, important events will unfold in Kyiv, in adjacent areas. Museum of Maidan will be organizing excursions using this augmented reality, the VR, recreated models. There will be a presentation of books, educational events. And what's also important, we've prepared the information materials that we update on an annual basis. This year we were working in coordination with the Office of the Vice Prime Minister of Ukraine on Euro integration and the Institute of National Remembrance. This is why those materials contain both information and references to important information resources, literature, studies, and this is why they are important for government offices as well as for schools and other educational institutions. You can find them on our website, maidanmuseum.org. And traditionally, every event, every important historic event is also covered by an information educational campaign that we usually call street advertising. It's pleasure to recognize that this year an international company was involved, a reputed international company was involved in developing of these visuals, and the slogan of this year's campaign is "Charged with dignity and thirst for freedom." You can download this logo of this year's commemoration with the key elements, the symbols of Maidan, and you can add it to any images by the context of any event. So this slogan, "Charged with dignity and thirst for freedom," it says the connection between the events of the 10 years ago and today's war. and we united with the Euro integration efforts of Ukraine. So those are the options of this year's identics. We see the key symbols in these infographics of events that were unfolding during these last 10 years, starting with Molotov cocktails and ending with F-16, Kharkiv subway as the symbol of resilience, Ukrzaliznytsia, the Ukrainian railway, which was evacuating the citizens, the armor vests, the Ukrainian tanks, all those key elements of our resilience, our resistance, and our struggle. So those are the visuals that we have. It can be downloaded too from our sources. So that was the basic information, and on our website there will be more information about changes and amendments to our program. I would like to name the authors of those identics, those Ogilvy Ukraine company within the framework of the project Association for Ukraine, and we incredibly appreciate their input, their support, their involvement in this information campaign. We will be able to see the big boards. There will be videos broadcasted by Ukrainian channels. This is why thank you very much for your attention, and I'm open to everyone's questions. Well, thank you. It's clear Kyiv is the center of Euromaidan, where people were coming to from regions, but will the campaign be spread to the regions? Maybe Lviv, Kharkiv and Dnipro want to get involved in this commemoration. Oh, of course, this mechanism of coordination is developed since the very first date of commemoration of important historic events. There is the order of the Cabinet of Ministers that regulates the involvement of the local governments, and such similar information campaigns are spread all over Ukraine. They continue all over Ukraine in the regions. We spread the information with the support of Ministry of Culture and Information Policy. We disseminate the materials for all the local governments. It's very important. It's an important fact, again, that during the occupation of Kherson, the pictures came up where there was an advertising big board that was saying about the 20th of February, the commemoration of Heroes of the Heavenly Hundred, that we were able to disseminate before the 20th of October 2022. It remained by the side of a Russian propaganda big board. We have this picture of two big boards standing side by side. It's a curious story, probably a symbol of resilience. A board commemorating the memory of the Heroes of the Heavenly Hundred was retained there in the occupied territory, fulfilling its probably mobilization role. Well, talking about the Heroes of the Heavenly Hundred, you mentioned we are about to commemorate them as well, so can you please tell us what part will be dedicated specifically to the Heroes of the Heavenly Hundred? Well, we commemorate the Heroes of the Heavenly Hundred since the 21st of November, and the culmination will fall on the 26th of November. There will be important events, important changes in the alley of the Heavenly Hundred. There will be a significant exhibition project that is about to represent the stories of the Heroes of the Heavenly Hundred. There will, with exhibition of their personal belongings, the individual micro histories, small histories about big personalities. The topic that we traditionally represent in February. Well, Rostyslav Karandieiev has just joined us, an active Minister of Culture and Information Policy. Good. afternoon. Well, Mr. Rostyslav, we commemorate the Revolution of Dignity anniversary this year. It's an important jubilee, so to say, because not only because we celebrated during the full-scale war, but probably because it's the continuation of the story. This started a story of our vector that started 10 years ago, the story of our way to Europe. So in your opinion, why is this date important for every Ukrainian? What does it represent for us? Good afternoon, dear colleagues. Well, really one of the key narratives of commemoration of the 10th anniversary of the Revolution of Dignity should be the narrative that it has become or had become a start of our way to European community. 10 years has passed. Ukraine has demonstrated certain progress, which is documented in the resolutions of European institutions. You know that recently there was a report on fulfillment of recommendations by Ukraine that were provided to us within the framework of Euro integration process after the acquisition of candidacy status. Well, yeah, associated membership, so to say. And we may state, or I would rather say our European colleagues state, that there is a progress that we can take pride in and that we can use further on to fulfill our preparations. This is why the Revolution of Dignity is that component that has given a momentum and at the same time an indicator of the changes that were happening, because the desire to join European Union was not a desire of the state but of the society that realizes what are European values, how important are they for Ukraine, how important are they for our development. Unfortunately, those values do not coincide with the vision of some of our neighbors, specifically Russia, who had realized right away that Euro integration path of Ukraine will mean the disintegration of Russian Empire, and they resorted to exercising pressure on Ukraine, and they in fact declared war on us. We are currently affected by the full-scale invasion started by Russia in the territory of Ukraine, but we don't stop. It just makes us even more convinced that we have different paths with Russian Federation, with their vision of development of the people that are around their borders. So in this sense, the 10th anniversary of Revolution of Dignity is an important event to document our aspirations of Ukrainian people, and that in fact is vindicated by the sociological surveys and research, and the date for an umpteenth time has to become an indicator of our intentions and aspirations. This is why I think my colleagues have mentioned that there are European symbols present on this banner, and they will be used to illustrate many events that will be going on within the framework of the program of events dedicated to the 10th anniversary. So this is why the Euro integration component is incredibly important for us. And the Revolution of Dignity, well, by the way, we connect these two events in our understanding, the beginning of Euro integration process and 10 years anniversary of Revolution of Dignity as the mutually connected events that couldn't have happened without each other. Mr. Ihor, you wanted to add something? Yeah, we have this Euromaidan strip on us for a reason. It again just vindicates the main cause of the protest. The Euro integration demands put by the people of Ukraine, and those stripes will be disseminated by our museum. It's a flash mob that is going on for a number of years. We call all of the Ukrainians to remember, to recall those events of 10 years ago, putting on these stripes. And by the way, many of our citizens continue wearing them until this very day. Thank you very much. Dear journalists, please, if you have any questions from our guests, the floor is yours. Maria Sapko, Ukrinform. So within the framework of preparation of this plan, how active is our youth? Are they ready to get involved in those things? And another thing, Mr. Ihor, you mentioned that there will be expert discussion. There will be scientists from Oxford and Harvard universities. So what are your expectations? To what extent are we going to be able to draw international attention to discussion of these problems of the events dating 10 years ago? Everybody has their own problems all around the world now, so how important Ukraine remains for them? Well, thank you for this important question. We know that the youth lives their own life, and that there is a very intense competition for the attention of the youth among the museums. And on one hand, yes, we fight for this attention, for the knowledge for the young generations with a number of means, and we were reacting to those calls. We remember the call of a Kyiv schoolboy who was urging the adults to talk about Maidan with the children, because their parents were going to Maidan and they were protecting their children from that information. So we started to get children, the school children, involved. We prepared a documentary, a video about Maidan, in which children from the families who were taking part and children from the families from the south and from the east of Ukraine who never took part in Maidan, they discuss it, they communicate their feelings, their memories. So it's a huge piece of education work, and it's important for us not to have it formalized and focused on this one day only. So it's our task as a museum. We communicated to the departments of education in Kyiv, in the regions. Yes, the work with the youth is very important. The work that there is a fight for their conscience between Russian propaganda and the real, true history. And your second question, I apologize, or about the scientists. Yes, it's extremely important. You remember just recently there were attempts to position Maidan as a coup, even by the anti-Ukrainian forces here in Ukraine, let alone Russian Federation. This is why the scientific research of the foreign scientists, well, starting with Timothy Snyder and ending with Serhiy Plokhy, are very important for us, because it's an independent academic thought that evaluates the events of Maidan in independent manner. It's a weapon for us, and again, it's crucial. This topic becomes important for our young scientists. I recall the contest of Kemsky, and the winners of that contest, they really become leaders in their regions, in their institutions. They establish new civil organizations, they establish new initiatives, volunteer initiatives. So yes, they take part in the changes, in reforms of Ukraine. This is why we really see that there is this range of activities, work with the youth, work with the foreign scientists. The audience of those commemorative events is 50 plus, and we have to work with the younger generation, and it's one of the priorities of our activity, in fact. Thank you very much. Do we have any more questions on the floor? Well, a very practical question about those who are growing up. 10 years ago, my kid was 2.5. You tell us about excursions, but from the point of view of security, should we bring our children to the center of the city? Well, talking about security, we don't have 100% security anywhere, whether outside, in the street, or in the museums, or elsewhere. Well, we have protocols of security developed. We always mention that there are shelters nearby. And talking about your kids specifically, there was an educational arsenal recently, and we were wondered that our stand, the stand of Museum of Maidan, was so popular. Children could draw there, they could play a game that was developed by us, they could make different works of art there. Well, 12 years, you know, it's a good moment to get involved, because we have children engaged at the age of 6 and 7 years. We have a good techniques for communicating this information to the kids. Well, do we have any more questions on the floor? If we have no questions on the floor, I would like to thank you. I hope that all the events will be held in the safe and secure manner. I hope that more people will be able to find out more about the events that happened 10 years ago. And Ukrinform will be back at 13 o'clock. Today we commemorate the deportation of Meskhetian Turkish, and we will talk about the life of this community under conditions of the war. Stay tuned. Thank you.